Hello everyone, this is Garrison Allred. Here is my ID. Now, I want to talk about something a little bit morbid. I know it's not the best note to end off on, but it's something different, something unique. Now, I wouldn't call this day that I'm going to be talking about life-changing, but it was definitely a unique experience. I'm going to talk about the day I thought I was going to die. I know that's a bit drastic, but let me explain. Back in 2011, my grandmother passed away. My family got the news, and it wasn't very pleasant. My father was affected by her death pretty badly, bad enough to the point where we packed up and left our lives behind here in Taiwan. We bought tickets, or after hearing the news, we bought tickets and we were on a plane 5 days later, on the 11th of March, 2011. Now, because Taiwan is a bit of a small island, there weren't any direct flights you could take from Taiwan to Knoxville, let alone Taiwan to America. So now, how it usually goes is you go from Taiwan up to Japan to a big city in the States, whether that be San Francisco or Atlanta, and then you take a smaller flight to Knoxville. So if you know, or if you remember, or if you know anything about the news of what happened in Japan on March 11th, 2011, you will know what I'm talking about. What was supposed to be a 3-hour layover turned into an 8-hour nightmare. And I say that because while we were there, we were only supposed to be there for 3 hours to wait for the next plane. But while we were waiting, an earthquake occurred. Now, earthquakes in Southeast Asia are somewhat common, to be honest, but not 8.0 earthquakes or 9.0 earthquakes. That was a different experience. When the first earthquake happened, it made the concrete within the airport, the structure of the airport, grind so much that when the earthquake stopped, all the dust and dirt and powder, I'm going to say, came out from the building and the ceiling that you could not see 3 feet in front of you. You could put your hand out and barely see your hand. That wasn't it though. The panic set in really quickly for many people. The sound of the cement cracking, the floors shaking violently. I couldn't see much, but most people couldn't see much because of the grinding of the concrete and the powder in the air. And then after that, at some places in the airport, the floor collapsed. You could hear people yelling, people screaming, but you could hear all this, but you couldn't see anything because of the debris in the air. You couldn't see it. Now, I suppose when all the screaming kicked in, or when the screaming started happening and I started realizing what was going on, I think that's when I kind of convinced myself that, hey, this is it. And maybe now that I'm older, I probably would have handled it a little better. I really don't think so. But this was in 2011. I was 12 years old at the time. After the earthquake, the pilot came out and told the passengers to board the plane. He said that the plane was safer than the airport, and that was very true. But the panic and I don't want to say trauma, but the panic set in already, and the shock kind of set in. So we got onto the airplane, and after several hours of aftershock after aftershock, we just had to sit there and watch the building shake, feel the plane shake left and right. It wasn't pleasant. It wasn't very nice. But after hours of aftershocks, we finally had the chance to leave Japan, and that's it. We got back to the States safely, but I can't imagine what was it like for all the other people left behind in the airport. Like I said, I wouldn't call this experience traumatic. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I'm not a doctor. But I will say it was something else. Thank you.